So I'm going to start off with the questions, if that's okay.
Oh, please do.
I'll take Kay's normal role. What was the inspiration for this book?
Oh. So a lot of folks talk about writing fan fiction, and I do that as well. And I was, just trying to think of something to write, to get into the flow. So I asked some friends for ideas, and someone sent me a quote, and I don't remember what it was, and I don't remember why I went in this direction, but I wrote this story about the two characters in a modern alternate universe meeting at a grief group that was like the one that I went to when I was a kid. And as I wrote it, I had sort of been toying with the idea of, if I can write fan fiction, I could probably write romance, right? It's not that different. And I realized that there was probably a lot here and a lot of directions that I could go in, so I started to expand it.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
I really like I guess, it's chemistry, the dynamic between the two from the very start. You could see how Georgia and the way she was seeing the world, and Lauren having her bad attitude coming in that day, and just how they really played off each other or showed each other. Well, I guess more Georgia showing Lauren, but I really like that about it. It grabs you right away in the first chapter.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that.
Oh yeah. Well done.
Good.
Now, how did you select their names?
Well, originally Georgia's daughter was named Savannah after one of the kids in the grief group that I went to. And so I just sort of thought it would be funny if if the mom's name was Georgia and then her daughter was a city in Georgia.
Okay, I like that.
And then I found out that Savannah was like the slave capital of the nation. So I was like, let's not name a kid that. So her name is Hannah, just because it had the same rhythm to it. And Lauren, I think I picked, going through lists and saying Georgia and sort of connecting, seeing how it sounded.
Smart.
I'm big on how names sound.
Right.
I'm really curious about I think it's neat that you're alternating chapter by chapter on the perspective. So, I kind of want to hear more. I hear the concept,
I'm ready to hear like Georgia's take on it.
Well, if y'all run out of questions, maybe we can do some of that. I love Georgia so much, and I really enjoyed writing her perspective because what she's like internally versus the way she presents is very, very different. And I did a lot of research. Sometimes folks will talk about conscience readers. They're readers who are in a specific group or demographic that the author doesn't share, but is trying to write about, just to make sure that we're doing it right.
Like sensitivity?
Yes, sensitivity readers.
Okay.
And so in writing these autistic characters, I have ADHD, and autism and ADHD have a lot of overlap, so I pulled a lot from my own experience, but at the same time, they are very different. So I had a lot of conversations with a lot of different sensitivity readers, and one of the things that they were very particular about was that there is a lot of anxiety for women particularly who are autistic, just constantly monitoring yourself to make sure that you're doing everything right. Am I making eye contact? Am I remembering to blink? Am I reacting appropriately? Just all of these little things that they're constantly trying to hide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kay, when you were writing the two different perspectives, did you have to almost take a break, like focus on one character, take a little bit of a break, and then delve into the other character, or could you do it at the same time?
My brain is a pinball machine, so I was able to bounce around pretty easily. And I also bounced around through the first draft story structure as well. So
Yeah.
So switching was fairly natural. And I did have to be careful. There were a couple of places where I was like, oh, this sounds like more of a Georgia thing. I actually, about a third of the way through developing the whole thing, I switched their jobs. Because I was developing their personalities and their dynamic. And as I did that, I was like, you know what, these don't match. And so I switched them. And so there was a lot of weird changes like that. I also, again, with my sensitivity readers in the first completed draft that I shared with people, they say, this is really great. You did great with Georgia and Hannah. Is Lauren autistic too? And I thought, no, she's just has too many of my quirks. And so I had to go back through and sort of pull that out. And a couple of times I had to text some neurotypical-ish friends of mine to be like, do you do this or is this just me? And so the perspectives did get tangled together sometimes because I mixed them, but for the most part, I was able to sort of flow around.
Very nice.
That's really interesting. I mean, I think it's a fascinating process, you know, and not coincidentally, I guess, because I don't know, everything happens for a reason. I've just was watching a show on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I think it's called Love on the Spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you watch the whole thing?
I have not watched it, but I have heard good things about it.
It's really wonderful, and I think it's made. I'm not sure if it's made in England, but it is really cool. And it's essentially just, you know, profiles of a bunch of different, I think like mostly young people on the spectrum as they were attempting to date. And so listening to you talk about how the characters, you know, their process of the characters, they're shifting and you know, wondering, and some of your sensitivity readers wondering if one of them's on the spectrum too. It's so, that came up a lot in the series on Netflix too. When they're introducing each other, like they were sometimes they're feeling each other out. They were all on the spectrum, but they didn't necessarily all assume that the other one was. And it's really interesting.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. We'll have to like talk about it when you watch it. So I guess one of the questions I have might be kind of related to adaptations of things. And I guess I'm thinking about this a lot anyway, because next week when Nicole Kahn comes, she's reading a book that was first a novel and then she adapted it into a film. So I'm curious if any of you, I mean, have thoughts about, like, maybe even as you're reading, do you like visualize it? And I'm not an author, but I think visually. So like, I'm just listening to your process of like developing these characters, and to me, I would almost be like seeing them like you know, it unraveling and on film, like I guess I think more like that. So I'm just curious about how that is for you guys.
No, that makes sense to me. Do you do that, Kay?
Yeah, definitely. It was funny because I think it may have been one of the writing classes I took in college. Someone said, never think about your book as a movie. And I was like, dude, that's just the way my brain is. I can't not. I do. I sort of see it and play it out like a movie or a TV show and then transcribe it. What about you, Baxter?
Yeah, I would say my process is pretty similar. And I think it's probably because we're so inundated with TV and movies, and we kind of, everyone can understand that and relate to it and see it and visualize it. And you think, okay, well, I'll pick up here with this scene and this is where I'm going to start it because this is how I would see it on a television show or a movie. So yeah, I think that's an easy way, especially when you're starting to write, to get into a scene and start a chapter.
Yeah.
I find I do it a lot when I'm stuck on, I kind of have to say, wait a minute, how do I want to see this happen? And I kind of put it into, a little movie in my head.
Awesome.
Yeah. Interesting. I think I'm also like still, I really loved the questions and answers to when Radcliffe was on about process. And I've been thinking about it since then. Like I'm actually like, I have to thank all you guys, because you guys inspire me so much. I've like actually been thinking a lot. I've thought about it on and off for years about writing something, but it was going to be nonfiction. Now I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I want to try something like a novel. But I was thinking about what she said about continuity. And I tend to think visually, like I like to edit stuff. So I've done editing and done little really short, very brief, like little mini films. But I think if I was writing, I would be like I would be like going scene to scene more, but when Radcliffe said that she doesn't do that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's so interesting.
Her process is so intense. Oh my golly. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I really regret I missed that week.
You should watch the video, definitely.
Watch the video.
I got to do that.
Of course, when you have time, which is infinite, of course.
Hey, I should make time for this. This is probably a big learning. It's probably full of good information.
I enjoyed listening to Radcliffe's process, and I really respect her thought process and her discipline and all of that. One of the things that I was most nervous about when I decided, okay, I'm going to really do it, I'm going to learn how to write a novel and write a novel, I spent some time and did not have much luck for a long time trying to find writing advice for people with learning disabilities. Because writing advice that's most common is written for people who work very differently than I do. And if I tried to meet the standard, like if I tried to do what Rad does, I would never get anything done, because I need to sink a lot of time into something that holds my attention. And so when I start, I write, whatever scenes, the freeze frame, big blockbuster Oscar-winning scenes that are in my head. I go out of order, I skip around, I change things around, I mess with it. And then as I write more, I'll go, okay, so this is interesting. Oh, that gives me an idea for this other scene. And then once I get to the point where, okay, it's time to buckle down and be disciplined about this, I've committed so much time to it and I care about it so much that I can do that. I can do the parts that aren't as fun. I've done the fun parts and got myself invested.
No, that's neat. That makes a lot of sense to me, actually.
I can understand that.
Yeah. I was also very lucky with my editor at Bella is Anne Roberts, who hopefully will get to read for us maybe in October. and she was a public school teacher who worked in special education. And so she was saying, based on my experience working with autistic people, you have it really accurately. I'm really curious how you did that. And I told her about my stuff, and she said, oh, and just sort of shifted the way she was talking about it. And the opening that I just read is the 4th or 5th version. And she said, it needs to be restructured. I think you have everything you need. You just need to dig it out and reorder it. Have you tried printing it out and cutting it up with scissors?
Oh, wow.
And that made sense to me immediately. I was like, oh yeah, that totally works. And so I did. I sat down on my floor here and I laid out the first 6 chapters and went, okay, this goes here, this goes here. If I move this, then this will need to change and that'll connect over here, and just cutting the pages and re-flipping them. And
that's cool. I almost just literally asked you, like, what do you write? Are you writing it by hand? Like, so, because I was imagining laying it out. But you're using like a word processor and then printing it out and laying it out. Yeah, that's cool.
I think too fast to write by hand. So everything's typed, but then editing, I print it out and go through it by hand.
Yeah, I have to write out by hand.
Oh, that's so
wow.
I will stare at the blank computer screen forever.
Yeah.
And then I type up everything out of my notebook.
That's cool.
So the handwriting is less intimidating.
Yeah. I don't know why. I can write when I handwrite. Now, do you think you'll write off the bat for the next book that you write? Or maybe you're doing it now. Will you kind of already be thinking like, I'm going to move these pages around and see how it goes? You use the same methods?
It has, yeah, it's definitely everything that I learned doing this book, I'm going to throw into the next one. I think I'm starting stronger in the first place because I had to do so many edits of this opening and learn so much about what makes an opening work. And I know more about where I need to start with the next one, and that helps.
I've learned so much from Anne.
Yeah.
Because she edited mine. She's done my 2 so far. So
that's
she's
neat.
good.
Yeah.
And she teaches. Not just like tells you, well, this is wrong. This is, she teaches.
Yes, that means so much to me. Yeah. So I have just segueing since you broached the topic. Next project, Leaving's Not the Only Way to Go, comes out in March. So there's a pre-order link, but y'all do unfortunately have to wait a while for it. But then in March of the following year, Taken Shepherd, one of the other Bella Books authors, offered me a slot in a anthology about weddings. And it took me a while to decide to commit to that because I wasn't sure that I had any particularly strong feelings about weddings. And then I landed on a concept of sometimes when I'm not interested in something, I'll mess with it until I am. And so I thought, what's the weirdest thing that could happen in the context of a wedding? And I ended up in the concept of polyamory. So my story is about a woman whose girlfriend breaks up with her after she's talked her up to her family, and she's so embarrassed. And she goes to her neighbor, who sort of looks like her girlfriend, her ex-girlfriend, and says, look, can you just pretend, just get me through this wedding, and then I'll admit to the breakup and we'll go through it, but I can't face my family in person. And she says, yeah, let me check with my wife. And in the process of sort of coaching her My Fair Lady style, the 3 of them fall in love.
That's cute.
Yeah, hopefully. And then I also, with no projected end date, it'll take as long as it takes. Hopefully not long though.
How long of a story will that be? It's for an anthology, so it's a short story?
It's a short story, which is going to be an exercise. Thankfully, I'm what they call an underwriter. Some folks are overwriters. They write a ton of words and then they have to cut. I write very little, and then every time I edit, I add what I've missed. So hopefully that short story will work out.
Sounds like a great project.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I also have a novel in the works. This one is a paranormal mystery romance about a woman who burns people when she touches them. And
Wow.
thinks, oh, you know, I'm a lone wolf now. I'm so tragically alone. And then meets a girl through saving her from a monster who says, you know, gloves exist, right?
Good one.
Yeah. So that's very much still in development, but that's the next big project I have.
Do you have it on the Bella schedule?
No, because of the way my whole deal is, I don't commit to something until I know that it's going to get done.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm still learning how novel writing works, so I'm not sure how long this is going to take.
I have one that I sent in my proposal. I'm still trying to write.
Oh.
I got a couple, you know, the non-fun parts. Just trying to tie those pieces together.
Yeah.
But it's not on the schedule yet anyway, so.
Okay. Well, I've realized I forgot to drop the pre-order link in the chat. There it is for that. But yeah.
Very cool.
Any other questions or?
While we're chatting, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
I ask Baxter, what do you have coming out next?
I have Following Chance is coming out actually next Thursday.
Oh, wow.
That's my second novel, and I just signed a contract with Bella Books for another short story, but I think it's going to be out sometime in the fall, but we're figuring that out. So
Okay, cool.
So yeah. What about you, Sherry? Do you know when yours is coming out?
The next one is out September 15th.
Oh, okay, right around the corner.
I have one, the sequel to Vacation People is coming out in spring. I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
And we've
Awesome.
got both of you on the schedule to read from the ones that are coming out, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. So exciting.
Yeah.
Do you guys are you guys like full-time writers?
Oh, not I.
Nope.
Nobody.
I have a part-time job. I work, my job title is Youth Employment Specialist. I help young people in the Bennington area who have disabilities figure out careers, training, education, jobs.
Oh,
Yep.
Awesome. I can imagine would be really difficult to do that full time. But also, I mean, it takes so much discipline to go through this process. It's pretty impressive that all you guys are doing that when you have, you know, a lot of other stuff going on in your life, other work and, you know, life.
I would love to be able to write full time. That would be awesome. But yeah, you pay bills too.
I like having a part-time job because it, you know, interacting with people, being out and doing stuff is where I pull a lot of the ideas from. So I feel like if I were just writing, I'd run out of stuff to write about.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably drive my neighbors nuts if I, because I do like, that's one of the things I like about being in the office and getting out, you know, is just, I'm very social. I'd definitely make my wife crazy if I was home all the time.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for all the great dialogue again.
Yeah.
I could ask a lot of other questions, but yeah, I'll save some for other times. But I'm fascinated, I mean, really by the process. It's a really creative thing. I mean, I almost got visions, Kay, when you were talking of like sculpting. Like, it's just such a creative, when you were talking about how you take a little from here and a little from there, like, that's really cool. It's like, you know, you are developing, you are like sculpting, you are creating these people, you know, characters. So cool.
And there is I don't have what some authors talk about where the characters seem to get away from me. I feel like I don't have a strong enough illusion of control to begin with to feel like something has gotten away. But I definitely do have a sense of that it unfolds, that they're,
Right.
you know, I think supposedly Michelangelo said something about, you know, the sculpture exists in the marble and he digs it out. And I feel like I start with something, and as I move a little bit forward, I uncover something else, and then I uncover something else, and it's sort of, I don't have the whole picture when I start, and it becomes the whole picture because I work with it.
Right. That's neat. Yeah. I mean, even when Rad was talking about like the series that she's done,
Yeah.
I didn't ask this question, but I was curious about characters development, you know, like, because, you know, they're evolving too. People evolve.
Yeah.
And some series you read, they don't evolve at all. It's just like, I don't know, it's like the Bobbsey twins, like they just are the same, but they, you know, they go on to different adventures, but they don't evolve.
Right.
And then others like actually really evolve. And that evolution is, I think, what is really interesting personally, but not just the plot and, you know, the adventures, but the evolution of the characters. So anyway, so we'll have to have you come and do a part 2, okay, so we can hear the different perspectives at different time, because we had talked the whole time. We chatted so much. It's like, I think we're right about the end. I can't see my clock.
Yeah, it's got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, since everyone's so interested, that's a wonderful incentive to buy the book.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely hooked after first chapter, so.
Thank you. That is wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
should, I think you'll catch a lot of people with that.
Thank you.
It's like fishing, right?